Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Amateur Hour Sports Podcast. My name is Jacob. I've got Roman joining me for today's episode. We are talking about the New York Giants, specifically Joe Judge. And this episode's a little bit overdue, but there's been a lot of stuff going on in the last week that we've talked about first, but we're finally getting to our Joe Judge episode. Hired as the New York Giants head coach. He was last season a special teams coordinator and a wide receiver coach under Bill Belichick. And this one really came out of left field because not a lot of people saw this hire coming. There was a lot of talk about Matt Rule coming to the Giants, but he ended up going to the Panthers, and we ended up with Joe Judge. I just want to start off by saying I like this move by the New York Giants and Dave Gettleman, surprisingly. I like this move. Roman, what's your first impression of Joe Judge being the newest head coach for the New York Giants?
Not really had any good coaching in a while, I would have to say.
I mean, Coughlin did very good. I mean, he wasn't great, but he coached them to 2 Super Bowls.
Something fresh is what they need.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They need something new. That's why I like it.
And we have success. We've seen success with special teams coaches before. A good example would be Harbaugh off of the Baltimore Ravens head coach.
John Harbaugh, a lot of people don't know, you were telling me before we started, was a special teams coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles from 1998 until 2007. And in his final season as the special teams coordinator, he was also a defensive back coach before just straight up going into the head coaching role for the Baltimore Ravens. After 12 seasons, he has 8 playoff berths and a Super Bowl 4 years after becoming head coach.
Which is very impressive, especially in that division.
Not saying Joe Judge is going to do that. I'm just saying, like, for people talking about, why the hell would you hire a special teams coordinator? Well, it's been shown in the past, this is just one example, that you can find success as a head coach just from going straight as a special teams coordinator.
And he is a great coach, which is very positive for Giants fans, especially because a lot of Giants fans are hating this move right now.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like it. There's a lot of people in like any football sense. A lot of analysts don't like this.
Oh, it was all when we first saw it.
Here's my take on this. So, it really seemed like Matt Rule was going to come to the Giants. And if you don't know, I am a Giants fan, so I am pretty passionate about this discussion. Matt Rule looked like he was kind of locked up as the Giants coach. But all of a sudden, the Panthers came in and offered him $70 million either for 6 or 7 years.
It's a big offer.
And I think Matt Rule kind of 180'd the Giants because he's like, well, these guys are offering me this much money. Obviously, I'm going to take that. So when he got that offer, he said to the Giants, he's like, look, if you match this absurd sum of money that the Panthers are offering me, I'll come work for you guys. And the Giants like, see you later, boss. You have fun in Carolina. And then I remember when, 15 minutes before Joe Judge got hired, there was the news that broke out through Schefter. He said that the Giants are meeting with Jason Garrett they're interviewing Jason Garrett.
They didn't say what position.
And I was sitting on a bus on my way home, and I legitimately almost started crying. Because of how depressed I was with the state of this franchise.
I said that to you right
away.
away.
I've said before that the worst moment for me, the Giants fan, was when we traded Odell. I was just a wreck. But this, when I saw that, I was absolutely distraught. Then 15 minutes later, Joe Judge is the new head coach. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? But it turns out Jason Garrett is interviewing for an offensive coordinator position, which I believe is going to happen in the very near future. I think it's next week that's scheduled. I'll go more in depth on Jason Garrett later in this episode. But for now, Joe Judge, I like that. I mean, there's a problem hiring coaches for the Giants because nobody wants to work for Dave Gettleman. He's proven to be an incompetent GM.
Can you blame them?
I don't blame them at all. But what we could have just done is hired a washed ex-head coach. He's been a head coach. He doesn't have a lot of success in the past, in the recent history. But he's a head coach, and we know he'll do whatever job. But I like the jump, and I like the risk that we're taking, getting Joe Judge. Apparently, he wowed them in the interview. apparently his character traits bode well for a successful head coach. He's very detail oriented, very specific about what he wants. He's very specific to his game plan. He's very passionate about the game. Just apparently walked into the interview with like no notes, just talked football with the guys and wowed them, and that's why he got the job. So if that's the case, obviously that could be a lot of BS that they're talking, but if that's the case, I like this because I think it's a bit of a risk, but I think it's a high reward risk because you get you find a gem basically, potentially. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but potentially find a gem, and you're not just kind of hiring another guy you know is going to be mediocre, because the Giants really need a 180. And I think if the coach buys into that 180 that we want to do, because the Giants have been so shit for the last few years, this could turn out to be a good move.
Here's the one reason I like this signing, and the one reason only. I'm going to call it the Belichick effect.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I didn't even get to that. Yeah.
We've seen coaches that have been under him in various positions that have gone off to do okay to good things. Most recently, the Tennessee Titans coach.
Yeah.
Who outcoached him, arguably, in that game.
Yeah, it was a chess match when the Patriots...
If we want to look at other coaches, we can look at Matt Patricia, who is doing what he can do right now in Detroit with what he has. Bill O'Brien from Houston has been under him as well, who... I know I've given some shit on some podcasts earlier, but at the end of the day, he's not a terrible coach. And there's a few others as well, but overall, it seems like coaches that come out that have been under Belichick have gone on to do good things. It just proves to me how good of a coach Belichick really is. He's not only coaching his players, he's making the coaches around him better.
Yeah, oh yeah. And, I mean, like you said, the track record for ex-Belichick guys has been decent. I mean, there's been some worse ones, but it's been quite good. And Vrabel,
I couldn't remember his name.
However you pronounce it.
Yeah.
He's been, well, I mean, obviously it's just one playoff run that we're seeing him doing well, but you could argue he outcoached Belichick in that wild card round game, and beating the Ravens, who were Super Bowl favorites. Very impressive for him. That bodes well. Also, Joe Judge worked under Nick Saban at Alabama.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So he was a wide receiver coach for Alabama before he went to work with Belichick at the Patriots. So lots of guys that he's learned from who are arguably the best at what they do. Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, from a football standpoint. Nick Saban is arguably the best college coach from a football standpoint of all time. There's a case there, but the Belichick one, it's 100%. He is the best. That's why I like, this, what I was saying before. The potential that he can show is much more than just a washed ex-head coach who's just going to come in, not going to make your team much better, just stick to the mold, stick to status quo. But, somebody who can change the narrative. That's what I like about Joe Judge. Next thing, on the Jason Garrett, like I said, I'd get to this. I like the hire as an offensive coordinator from Jason Garrett. Roman's kind of laughing right now.
I hate it. But you continue.
But Jason Garrett was an offensive coordinator at the Cowboys before getting hired full time. Obviously, we know we didn't do a great job as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but he has shown his ability to work with young quarterbacks, because Dak Prescott was drafted 135th overall. And I'm not saying Dak Prescott is a superstar, because I'm a big advocate that he's not a superstar. I have an episode where I argue with Deshaun a lot about how I don't think Dak Prescott is anything special. But for what you're getting out of Dak Prescott, who was a 4th round pick in the NFL draft, a lot of it, you could say Jason Garrett kind of was part of that upbringing of Dak Prescott. Maybe it was just Dak was slept on in the draft.
I think it's more of Dak being slept on in the draft. We've seen it from time to time. Players that have slipped right through getting drafted. Russell Wilson, Brady, just to be 2 examples.
But okay, with Tom Brady, do you think he gets this good without the help of Bill Belichick's coaching?
No, he's an outlier, and I'll give you that, because Belichick is the greatest coach of all time.
You can argue the other way. There are people who can get taken very high, but without the right coaching, they don't turn out to anything.
Mitchell Trubisky,
exactly, got 2nd overall. You could talk about Mitchell Trubisky being a bust, but there's a big case that the coaching let him down in his development. There's a big case for that from the Chicago Bears.
I'll give you that. I just don't think Garrett is that much to give credit to for Prescott as you may think.
But there's certainly credit for Jason Garrett.
There's going to be some that goes to the coach always, but it's just not as much as I think.
If from what I'm saying is that yes, Jason Garrett was a big part of Dak Prescott turning into a starting quarterback in the NFL. You could say he could do the same with Daniel Jones because with trading, fucking getting rid of Odell Beckham Jr. Like how good would it be having Danny Dimes throwing the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. But with what you have in Daniel Jones, you have a very promising quarterback. This is a very promising quarterback option. And if he can run in tandem with Saquon Barkley, it opens up a lot more from a throwing standpoint when you can run those play actions. You have to be worried about Saquon Barkley because I think he's the best, most talented running back in the NFL.
Yeah, we've had that before.
So in that regard, if you have a guy like Jason Garrett who can potentially unlock these other aspects of Daniel Jones' game, I'm all for it. I'm all for that hire of Jason Garrett.
The one main reason I hate it is because it's an interdivisional coach that Giants fans have hated for how long. I'm just coming at it from strictly a Pittsburgh. Hear me out. Strictly a Pittsburgh standpoint.
Okay, Roman,
if I ever hired,
let's talk about the hypothetical situation.
Go ahead.
Here. And I know Harbaugh is not Jason Garrett, but if Harbaugh becomes available,
I'm still hating it because he's a Baltimore coach. I'm hating it still.
Even though he's one of the most talented.
Yes, I will still hate it because he coached Baltimore.
I think you're lying, man.
No,
I really don't think that you would feel that way. Let's say Tomlin retires for whatever reason.
Rip,
exactly.
Rip.
And Harbaugh is available. He wants the job. You're saying you wouldn't want that?
No, because he's an ex-divisional coach. I don't want that. Not just because I can understand if it was Cincy or Cleveland, but Pittsburgh and Baltimore's rivalry goes so deep that we absolutely hate each other. I would just not want that coach. And I think it's the same way. Maybe I'm coming different with the Giants and Dallas, but if it's not coming from your perspective.
Look, I got a huge beef if a guy from my team goes to a rival, but look, if my team's going to get better from adding somebody from a rival team, I'm a business guy here.
I understand.
My team's going to get better.
I understand your point.
If that's the case, if Joe Judge wants to work with Jason Garrett, and you think Jason Garrett's the right guy for Daniel Jones and for this offense, I'm for it, man.
I also just don't think he's a good coach.
No, I don't think he's a good head coach at all. I think he quivered in a lot of big moments. Maybe Jerry Jones part of that, but no, Jason Garrett, not a good head coach. But as an offensive coordinator with young quarterbacks,
do you know if he ran play call at Dallas?
He pinned a lot of it on the offensive coordinator.
Okay, I don't know if he called plays.
No, but like he pinned it on the offensive coordinator. Like in the Eagles game, 4th down, need a big play. Amari Cooper's not on the field.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he pinned it on the offensive coordinator for not putting him on. But you're the head coach. It's your call. Like you see, hey, no, that Amari Cooper's a guy. Get that boy on the field. But even though he put it on the offensive coordinator, I'm putting it on Jason Garrett. It's Jason Garrett's fault for the offensive struggles.
Yes, it is.
Because he's the head coach. So obviously he's part of the picking those plays, part of the picking the offensive sets, but he pinned it on the offensive coordinator, which I did not like. He should have taken responsibility. So definitely he has been an offensive coordinator, like I said, for the Cowboys. So with that experience in mind, I could see it being fruitful partnership, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, and especially Jason Garrett and Daniel Jones. I'm thinking positive about it. It's like they're also talking about Freddy Kitchens, which again I'm not against. That's kind of died down. I think Jason Garrett
that died down.
But again, Freddy Kitchens 2 years ago, how good was that Browns offense under an offensive coordinated by Freddy Kitchens? That's why he got the head coaching job, and obviously he wasn't ready. It was a huge step up for him, like in a very short amount of time. And the reason that isn't the same for Joe Judge because he's been involved in the league for so long. Freddy Kitchens went from like an assistant to an offensive coordinator to a head coach within 2 years.
Well, that's just Cleveland not knowing what the fuck they're doing. What's that stupid stat they've had? I think 20 coaches in the last. I can't remember the actual span of years, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The stat.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, a lot of coaches. Yeah, they don't. It's a shit show there. It's not the same. But with the Jason Garrett aspect, I know I've been critical of him, and I will continue to be critical of his time in Dallas. But I can see this potentially working out for the Giants with him as the offensive coordinator. We'll see what comes to fruition there. It's honestly the first time in a while that I've liked the moves being made by Dave Gettleman, but I still think Gettleman should not have a job as the Giants GM. He's proven to be incompetent, doesn't know what he's doing. Saving grace might be that Daniel Jones selection, which
it's looking good now, but at the time it was looking terrible.
Oh, it looked terrible, but they clearly knew what they were doing with the pick because
Haskins
hasn't looked great. Who knows if Ron Rivera wants to even stick with Haskins at this point.
He's a tricky one just because the coaching there was so bad, and they absolutely destroyed his confidence in that one game. You remember that? They threw him in when they were losing some stupid amount.
I remember. I forget which game. I forget the exact game, but yeah, they were losing by a lot, and they threw him to the dogs.
Just poor execution. Like, again, this could be another Trubisky thing that we're seeing. A good coach, a good player with good potential. But it's just terrible coaching.
Yeah, but they've got Ron Rivera now, so
who is
we'll see if Rivera wants to stick with Haskins. But
there's a whole offseason.
That's besides the point. I think Gettleman should not be with the Giants. I think this is his last heave at his role because he's definitely on thin ice. Like, they fired Shermer. Pat Shermer's awful. Definitely should have been fired. But Shermer is 25% of the problem. The other 3/4
he got hired by somebody.
Oh, yeah. Shermer got hired somewhere. I'll look that up while I'm talking.
Who was it? It's going to bug me. Is it Jacksonville? He got hired. It's not a head coach.
Offensive coordinator for the Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos. That's right.
Bad look. I mean, I think maybe it's hypocritical of me for talking about Shermer not being a good head coach, getting an offensive coordinator job. And I'm talking about Jason Garrett getting our OC job. But, look, I don't like Pat Shermer at all. And he was awful for the Giants, but like I said, he's a quarter of the problem. The other part of it is Dave Gettleman. This is his last heave. If this doesn't work out, I think Dave Gettleman's gone. If Joe Judge doesn't work out, but hey, he came through with the Danny Dimes thing. I'm not at all saying I like Dave Gettleman. If he comes through on this, maybe he's gonna keep his job. I don't think he should, regardless. But we'll see how that pans out. What I will end with is that I like this risk we're taking. Not a normal move to pick up a guy like Joe Judge. Maybe we found a gem. Maybe we didn't. Maybe he's going to fail. Who knows? But I like this hire. I'm excited for this, to see what he can do. I'm not excited to watch the Giants play another season of football because they're going to suck again. We'll see what we can do in the offseason. We'll see what we can do in the draft because, if we can I don't think we're going to get Chase Young at the 4th pick. But
I will be surprised.
I'll be surprised if he slips past the Redskins. But who knows?
You guys think you guys are going defensive? Straight to defense?
Yeah, I think with what we have at the moment, it's got to be either O-line to commit to playing with Saquon and Danny Dimes, or defense. I don't think you should be looking at any. I personally like some of the offensive weapons that we possess.
I will be surprised.
I like Sterling Shepard. I like Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
I like Slayton. We were talking about Slayton the other day.
He's underrated.
How undervalued he is for the Giants. Realistically, we're probably looking at Isaiah Simmons, the Clemson linebacker.
I'm talking soccer here.
Sorry, linebacker. I saw
the LB.
Yeah. Isaiah Simmons was likely the guy we're looking at linebacker. I think that would be great. We need help in that position, and we obviously very talented. I don't see Chase Young moving past the Washington Redskins, unfortunately. But I'd be happy with getting a linebacker out of this.
Yeah, I think you guys go more defense than O-line just because typically O-line does not go that high.
Well, the Cowboys drafted, O-line the first round 3 years in a row, and look how good their O-line is.
Yeah, but they didn't have a 4 pick. They had a 10 to 12
Fair enough, but...
And they clearly had a vision of what they wanted to do because they went consistent in O-line. Dallas.
Because they saw, we have Ezekiel Elliott and we have, Dak Prescott, he's nothing special, but he can hit his guys. Well, we have Ezekiel Elliott. I look at the Giants, we got Saquon Barkley, who I think is better than Ezekiel Elliott. That's obviously a debatable topic. That's how I feel. Trying to eliminate any bias. And Daniel Jones had a great season as a rookie quarterback. There's, I think, 4 games in NFL history where a rookie quarterback has thrown 300 yards and has 4 touchdowns in a game. Marcus Mariota has 1. Daniel Jones has the other 3. And it could even be 4. There might be 5 games and he has 4. But Mariota has 1, Daniel Jones has a rest. And he had all those this season.
Look where Mariota is now.
Obviously that didn't work out. But
with Daniel Jones...
That's unparalleled company.
Oh. With Daniel Jones, the one thing I'm not sold about him is just his protection of the ball. But that's what terrifies me.
Okay, well, obviously...
It's fixable.
It's like I was about to say, easily correctable.
Yes.
If that's the only problem... You can work on that so easily. I think that's gonna be fixed by next season.
I just hope it is because that's the only thing that
is his glaring issue.
Because we watched a lot of Giants games and you would see him get sacked or get hit. And you'd be terrified that ball's coming out.
But this guy, he's not bad at running the football.
No.
He throws dimes.
Yes, he does. Well,
I know, that's just his nickname. But this guy throws bombs.
Oh, he can play.
He's got an arm, right? This guy can play. I see a lot of potential in him. I'm truthfully saying this, no bias. Daniel Jones has looked good, and I'm not the only one who says that.
No, he has looked good. Rather than his protection.
I think the Giants are on the right track. It's going to be a process to get into contention. I don't know if I trust the process with Dave Gettleman, but I like what we have done so far this offseason. Hopefully we don't screw up in the draft.
You never know.
Maybe we can make some moves. I think we should get rid of Golden Tate. I don't know if we still have him on contract, actually, but don't sign another guy like Golden Tate, please.
One thing before we get off of this. What's your take on what you guys do with Eli? I'm just curious, because I've seen rumors of a ton of things.
It's very nice to have Eli as your backup, especially because Daniel Jones looks a little fragile from what we've seen in the first season. Look at how many quarterbacks are available this summer.
Oh, there's a ton.
Cam Newton, probably. James Winston. Mariota. Potentially Haskins.
We're forgetting so many too.
3 phenomenal QBs in the draft when you look at Joe Burrow, Herbert, Tua.
But they're all I don't know if Herbert is exactly supposed to go to a specific team, but we've already had.
But what I'm saying is a lot of teams who want QBs are not looking at $30+ million Eli Manning to be their guy for one season. And how good is he really going to be for that one season?
Teddy Bridgewater, we forgot as well.
Teddy Bridgewater. We're forgetting names. There's a lot of guys available.
There's just so many all over the
place.
Why
would anybody be trying to come for Eli Manning?
Organized. It's a hard one.
Is Eli Manning really going to be, at this point in his career, the guy's going to take you on your Super Bowl run?
No.
Because what's the point of having him for one season to maybe get you in the playoffs? The team that needs a quarterback the most right now, you look at the Bucks, you look at the Bears. Throw in Eli Manning on those teams. Bears, are they a playoff team?
I wouldn't say the Bucks and the Bears need a quarterback the most out of the whole NFL.
Who would you say? Other than teams who need to draft QB, who are going to draft QB. Miami is going to draft Tua.
Did we say Cam? I don't think we said Cam Newton because the possibility of him leaving Carolina.
Sure, we can even say them.
I'm going to say Carolina. I'm going to say Denver are in desperate need of a quarterback.
But they've committed to their guy. I know. Well,
he's not looking good.
Let's look at Denver. Let's look at Carolina. Throw in Eli Manning to the teams they have. Are they playoff teams?
No, they're still not.
Probably not. So what's the point of paying Eli Manning 30 years when you can get a younger guy or get somebody promising you can build into your system for a season and build for the future? Who's really going to want Eli Manning right now? And I was going to say Coughlin might want him at Jacksonville, but Coughlin doesn't work there anymore. So that's out of the mix.
Oh, there's another team that needs a quarterback. Jacksonville.
Yeah. Well,
as you're saying right now.
What's the point of getting Eli Manning?
Oh, I know. The thing I think that would work the best with Eli is either he goes into work for the Giants organization, or he's going to do the Romo and become a broadcaster.
Well, Eli Manning's a very good media personality, we've seen with Peyton and Eli in the commercials. Phenomenal. Super Bowl commercials. They're great. They're great in skits and whatever. They've been on SNL.
They have been,
So, definitely could be broadcasting, but he wants to play football still. And he proved this season, even though he only played 2 games in the latter. He wasn't great in the first 2 games played, but in the other 2 games he played, looked really good. Especially against the Eagles. Looked really good. He only won one of those games. Played against the Redskins.
I'm not too sure.
I believe. Played really well against the Redskins. Played really well against the Eagles. They didn't win that game, but played well. They almost took down the Eagles in that game. But has shown he can be a serviceable quarterback, but I just don't see any team wanting to get a guy like Eli.
No, even if they wanted to bring him in for a backup, it doesn't make any sense because the new trend...
He doesn't want to be a backup.
I know.
That's why he'd leave the Giants.
I'm just saying the new trend in the NFL that we're seeing with backups is it's Wildcat. They're in there to run the Wildcat.
Yeah, it's a good... Like,
we've seen it with...
New Orleans.
We've seen it with Baltimore even, when they put RG3 in there.
Yeah.
It's happening more often. And I think it's a good play. Hill may even go somewhere too. I would be surprised if he stays at New Orleans, especially after that performance in the playoffs.
That one fucking pass he threw.
Hey, what was the stat again? The only player to have a receiving touchdown, he caught a touchdown, he ran a touchdown off a kick return, and he threw a touchdown.
Interesting. Not in that game.
No, but just in a game in the season.
Hey, Derrick Henry threw a TD pass and caught a TD pass.
But he didn't return one.
Fair enough. He's one you could definitely look at. I don't really have anything else to say on this. Round it off again. Joe Judge, I like it. Jason Garrett, I'm not opposed to Jason Garrett being the offensive coordinator. We'll see what we can do in the future with the guys that we have, but I am optimistic as a Giants fan at the moment. Well, end there. Thank you for listening. Links in the description for the merch.
Merch
get
drop.
Your stickers, get your mugs, water bottles, whatever. Get your merch. Support the show. Twitter and Instagram @AmateurPDC. Go follow us there. Like the YouTube video. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Spotify. And we post every single day. So we'll see you tomorrow for another episode.